screen?
Yes, let me first share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
And because we're recording again, I think you might need to introduce him
yes.
again, please.
Right.
The share. Allow my screen to share.
Make host. Yes.
Yes, allow me to screen to share.
Share screen.
Host disabled participant screen sharing. This is coming.
Yes, it's. I already did. One proceed. You can share screen right now.
Oh, okay. Yes.
All right. So we'll start again the meeting. So
Mm.
good morning, everyone. I am Sebastian Cartagena, and I would like to have the pleasure to meet Amar Garg. Throughout first class, professor of microbiology with more than 43 years of experience and 44 years of research. He has published 125 papers. He has research contribution of more than 2 dozen abroad international conferences abroad. Recipient of Young Scientist Award of IBS and award of ISCA, Associate Editor of the Journal of Indian Botanical Society, and was selected as zonal member of the section research journals. Member Advisory Board Virus Educational Trust running higher educational institutions, Best Teacher Award of 2018, and third Global Outsearch Research and Educational Award 2019 for excellence in educational leadership at Bangalore on July 31, 2019. And currently he is Vice Chancellor of Shobit Institute of Engineering and Technology, Meerut. So he will be doing a conference about green energy as a concept to manage environmental sustainability.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And my slides are visible. Yes. My
Yes.
slides are visible. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, welcome in this webinar. A wonderful topic which has been selected by the organizers. Green
Hello?
energy. Yes. Yes.
Very good. Okay.
Yes. Hello. So
Hello.
green. Yes.
Can
So
you see?
green. Yeah. Should I continue or is there any problem? So the green energy, the topic which has been selected by the organizers, is
One
one of the most appropriate topic for present day circumstances and present day natural conditions. First of all, I would like to give the thanks to the organizer for giving me this opportunity to interact with the August body and the eminent participant and the listeners. Thank you very much. All participants, I'm seeing that they are from the different countries of the world. So the topic, which is the green energy, which is, so before going into to this, I would like to discuss some of the aspects of the energy, because you know that the energy is the one of the most important component on this earth, on this planet, which determine everything. It determine our life, it determine our way of life, it determine our economy, it determine everything. It is responsible for everything, for production, for even for our own life, sustainability and everything. So I will be coming that how this green energy concept is good for the environmental sustainability, because during the last 50 years, I will say that after 1970, what happened, that due to this industrial revolution in the developing countries, we have lost the concept of the green energy. We have lost the concept of the maintenance of the environment. We are damaging the environment for our own comforts, and which is resulting in the disease like COVID-19, which you have recently observed. That is, I'm a microbiologist having the 45 years of experience, and we have done the research and we have found that this particular type of these infections which are jumping from the animals to the humans, they are only because of the biodiversity loss, because of the climate change, because of the continuous disturbance of the environmental conditions, and that all because of the energy. We need energy, and for the energy, for the exploitation of the for that we have exploited the environment to a larger extent. So the serious environmental threats, first of the greenhouse gases. Most of you know that the greenhouse gases, these are immersed due to the human activities and due to the high amount of the various activities. The upper troposphere layer, about 10 to 12 kilometer altitude, you will find. The natural gases are the carbon dioxide, methane, nitrogen oxide, and the water vapors. And the artificially main halocarbons, mainly. This is the halocarbons, this is the mainly responsible for the greenhouse effect. The possible major reasons for the environmental degradation. Deforestation is one. Coal, fuel, wood burning is the another one. Forest fires is the another one. Use of fossil fuel, this is one of the most important reasons. The fossil fuel, whether we are using it for the production of the energy in the industries, or whether it is we are using it in the vehicles, and this is mainly responsible for the environmental degradation. Harmful gases which are emitted from the industries, this is the another reason. The every comfort in the life what we are making, this every comfort in the life, it is exerting the pressure on the environment. And all these environmental degradation is due to the anthropogenic activities and not geological. And above activities are all for the production of the energy. So if we see that what type of energies we are having, or from where what are the sources. So if we see in case of the US, that is the data for the 2019, you will find the solar energy 1.04%, nuclear energy 8.46, hydropower electricity 2.5, wind energy 2.74, and the geothermal energy is 0.2% only. Natural gas is generally the mainly used in US for the production of the energy. Coal is 11%, and the biomass is only about 5%, and the petroleum is more than 36%. So the maximum amount of the energy what we get in US, it is from the petroleum, and the biomass is only about 5%. So you can just see that we have neglected the green energy to a large extent. If we see the data about Indian conditions, then you will find that the different sectors, state, central, private, and all India data, you will find that the coal, lignite, gas, diesel, these are the different, and here we will find that the diesel is the maximum, and in all India level also, even in the private also. And the subtotal, we have given the nuclear power at state level nothing, and at central level also very negligible. So we will find that the nuclear level energy or renewable sources of the energy, in case of the India, hydropower electricity and some other renewable sources, they are being used. So this is the data which I have collected for the 2019. Now the electricity generation in India from 2009, it is slightly increasing, but if we see it, the consumption, we will find that the consumption is much more higher. So there is a shortage of the electricity in India as far as is concerned. Now the characteristics, what are the characteristics of the good sources of the energy? The good source of energy, it should have the high energy output per unit mass or volume. It should be easily available. It should be easily stored, and it should be easily transferable or transportable, and it should be economical. If we are having all these four criteria, then this any of the energy it can be used or it can be exploited for the commercial purpose. And the sources you will find that they are the conventional sources and non-conventional sources. In conventional sources, you will find coal, petroleum, natural gas. I will not concentrate on these too much. I will concentrate only less. And the non-conventional sources of energy are solar energy, wind energy, biomass energy, ocean energy, in ocean tidal wave energy, thermal energy, and geothermal energy. So we will discuss all these non-conventional energy. We will focus on this. So the renewable sources, they are the sun, flowering, flowing water, ocean, wood. So we will concentrate on conventional sources of energy. As you all know, that is a fossil fuel, and the fossil fuel, it is going to be extinct in 2050. And after that, we have to concentrate and we have to focus on the renewable sources of the energy. So the renewable and the advantages, disadvantages of the fossil fuel energy is that the burning of the fossil fuels, it releases the gases, harmful gases, and these harmful gases cause the air pollution. And this air pollution, we all know very well that they are dangerous for our health, for our environment, for our survival. And they release the acidic oxides of the sulfur and nitrogen, and which are mainly responsible for the acid rains, which affect the soil fertility and which affect the buildings, which affect the damages of the buildings and corrosion of the material and several harmful effects. And release of the large amount of the carbon mono and carbon dioxide gases, which is mainly responsible for the carbon sequestration. Deterioration of the fossil fuel natural resources can be compensated. Now these fossil sources, they are going to be deteriorated. They will not survive for the longer time. And therefore, we can concentrate on non-conventional source of the energy. And these are nuclear energy, solar energy, wind energy, and bioenergy. The waste from the kitchen, waste from the agriculture waste, food industry, fruit industry, and from the various other industries that can be converted into the green energy and the good energy. So the thermal power plants are almost now most of the countries, they are going to close the thermal power plants. So we have to concentrate on the other sources of the energy. And in other sources of the energy, the one very good source of energy is the hydropower plants. This is also a source that water from the rivers, it is stored, dams are constructed, and from the dams the water flows, and through the pipes it goes, rotate and turn the turbines and generator and produce the electricity. The advantage of this type of the electricity is flowing water is a renewable source of energy. The electricity produced does not cause any pollution, which is one of the most important advantage. And in India, about 30% of the total source of the energy, total production of the energy is the hydropower energy. And the water stored in the dams can also be used for the control of the floods. This is the additional advantage. But the disadvantage in this case is that the cost is high. Large areas of the land get submerged sometimes, and the decomposition of the vegetation produces a methane gas sometimes when it happens. So, and which is a greenhouse gas, which causes the effect. But this can be, to some extent, this can be largely controlled and this can be managed. And therefore, this particular second point, it can be managed and we can make this energy in a useful manner and we can utilize it. Hydroelectric power generation system. This is the flow diagram, that how it goes. The slice, dams, and the water flows, and these are the turbines. These turbines, they rotate, they generate the power, and this is the powerhouse, and then this is transmitted to the to the city and to the for the consumers. Wind energy is the another very recently utilized process, because this is one of the very old process which is used by many of the countries, and India, we have also realized its importance, and particularly in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan we have installed several wind energy windmills. And the advantage of this converts the kinetic energy into the wind energy, which is mechanically or electrically it is converted into the electrical energy. So this advantage is that it is a renewable source of energy. It does not cause any pollution. The recurring cost is less. This is one of the, but disadvantage is that most of the time, many times, we may not be able to get the right flow of wind for the production of the current. So it requires, and the another thing is that it requires large areas. So country India has decided that in Rajasthan, where the some of the part or the many of the part where no crops can be converted, this is the desert area, or in the Madhya Pradesh, the desert area, there the windmills or wind energy is being harvested, and the minimum wind speed which is required, it should be 15 kilometers per hour. These are the some of the windmill and how this wind energy farm is created. This is the picture from the Rajasthan, and there you will find that the large areas they have been shifted, and they have been used for the production of the wind energy. This is a picture from the village, one of the village in Madhya Pradesh, Devas, and there you will find that the windmills they have been installed, and the electricity is being produced, and this electricity is being used for the benefit of the farmers in one of the village. Then the another source of the energy is the green energy, the solar energy. Solar energy is now comparatively being encouraged in India, and many of the and the government of India has launched several schemes for the use of the solar energy. Up to 30% there is the incentive, and a rebate is given, or subsidy is given, and you will find that the solar cell is a device which converts the solar energy into the electrical energy. The only thing in this case is that the conversion rate is 0.5 to 1 volt. One cell produce only this much, and that produce the 0.7 watt of the electricity. So what we have to do, that we have to put large number of the solar cells on a panel, and these large number of the solar cells, they can be installed, and they can be connected together, and they will be able to produce the solar energy. It can be stored in the batteries, and then it can be utilized. The one of the thing which I would like to mention over here, that the government of India, when they have introduced a scheme for the offline and online production of the solar energy. But the online solar energy, it is disadvantageous to the customers, in the sense that the government buy it at 2.8 or 8 to 3 rupees per unit, while when it's supplied, then it's supplied at 7 or 8 rupees. That is not understandable to me. If the government of India, from this platform, I would like to mention that the government of India should think over this particular type of the disparity, that there should be a minimum difference between the production buying rate and the supply rate, and then only it will be economical, and then the people will be able to buy. Those who are able to afford the offline production, they have to buy their own system, they have to buy everything. And but one very important thing is that the solar cells, they have the long life, maybe about up to 20 to 25 years. And one very important thing is that the silicon is expensive, so the research should be done so that the silicon can become cheaper, and there is a silver is used in the connecting cells between the two. That is why also the cost increase. And another disadvantage is that current produced is DC, and it is to be converted into AC. and it increased the cost. So the solar cell, this is that how the solar cell functions. This is the front panel and the anti-reflecting and this M type and this semiconductor back, and the sun rays they come, and these sun rays they are able to, sunlight is able to convert into the electrical energy. These solar panels, you will find large solar panels at several places. I have seen that when recently when I went to Bangalore, then I found that the entire airport it is by the solar panel. So the solar panel, or it is in the Rajasthan when I was pro-vice chancellor in Jaipur National University, then we had installed the big solar cells, and the entire consumption of the university was from the solar cells. Even in Shobit University, where we are having the 100 kV solar power panel, and we are about 25 to 30% of what need of the total consumption we are able to use from the solar panels. And we installed these solar panels long back, 10 years back. And you will find that now the small solar lamps, they are also available in the market. They are quite cheap also. You can buy from the local market for 100 watt or 50 watt or up to 300 watt, and they will be used, and they are quite cheap, and they are quite manageable and simple to be installed. And in the village, or the government has now subsidized, and government has installed in many of the villages through the various schemes in the villages, these lamps have been installed. So the solar type of the cooker, solar geyser, solar water heater we can have, and so we can reduce the consumption of the energy, and the solar power or solar energy can be converted into the electrical energy. Energy from the sea. The tidal energy, periodic rise and fall of the sea level due to gravitational attraction of the moon causes tide. A dam is constructed, and a narrow opening between the land and the sea, and this movement of water during the high tide and low tide, it can be used for the rotation of the turbines and to generate the electricity. So this is one of the very important aspects now at the sea level, or where the oceans or sea are present. Then we can harvest this energy, and we should concentrate on this tidal energy. Only very few countries are harvesting this energy, and unfortunately India has not yet realized its importance. And the developing countries where the sea are available, it should be sea wave energy can also be converted into the electrical energy. When the strong wind flows over the sea, it produces the huge waves, and this kinetic energy of the moving waves can be used for rotation of the turbines. And for the main thing is that turbine is to be rotated, and then this turbine will be able to produce the electricity. So by any of the means, if we are able to rotate the turbines, then the process is easy. So ocean thermal energy can also be used for the production of the energy, and this is a temperature difference between the water surface and the cold water bottom, and this difference is about 20 degrees Celsius, and this can also be used for rotating the turbines and for generation of the electricity. This is the flow diagram, that how this tidal waves, tidal energy, it can be converted. There's a turbine operation, turbine is moved, and then the valve is open, and the electricity can be produced. This is the sea wave energy, that how this sea wave energy, this is the diagram, that how this sea wave energy can be used for the production of the electricity. This is again the ocean thermal energy, the difference in the water component, the cold water. This can also be used for the warm surface and the effluents, and then through the transmission cable, this can also be used for the production of the electricity. Geothermal energy. This is because in the earth, inside earth, a vast earth is crust is very hot, deeper regions of the earth, and this heat melts rocks and forms the magma. The magma moves up and collects below the some places called hot spots, and the underground water in these hot spots gets heated into the steam at high pressure, and by drilling these holes into the hot spots, these drilled the holes, we can steam can be come out, and it can be used to rotate the turbines and for generation. This is the one concept which is being used by some of the countries. Unfortunately, in India also we are not using this geothermal energy, which can be used in many parts of the India, and it can be used. And the many countries or the people, they should do the research, and they should focus and develop such type of the system. Geothermal power plant, high temperature geothermal deposit in the deep, and from the deep then the geothermal electricity power plant, they can be used, and they can be this high heat system can be used for the generation of the electricity and or the energy, you can say. Nuclear energy, the many of the developed countries, for example, you saw that the USA, Japan, Germany, and the China and some of more countries, they are focusing on nuclear energy during the recent years. But in this case, what is the drawback? That many, and this is environmental friendly also. If you have know that recently during the last few years, there was a leakage in Japan from the nuclear power plant, and if this leakage happens, then it is very dangerous. So we have to be very cautious, that we have to make a high safety rules and high safety system. We have to. So the nuclear fission and nuclear fusion, these are the two processes which are used for the production of the nuclear energy. And this nuclear energy is the high, that is the uranium, plutonium, they split into the smaller nuclei, and they release the large amount of the energy. And this large amount of the energy, it can be used for the production of the electricity. In the nuclear fusion also, the nuclear reaction, in which the nuclei fuse together from a heavier nucleus, and then they release a large amount of the energy, and it can be. So advantages of this, that it produces a very large amount of the energy per unit mass. I do remember that there are some plants of the nuclear power plant, they have been installed in India, and these nuclear power plants, unfortunately, due to the various reasons, either due to the non-availability of the nuclear material or system or some machine or some other things, we are not able to produce the large amount of the electricity, and only 1.8% of the total production of the energy is by the nuclear energy in India. And the safety measures, if the safety measures are taken, then it is the most environment friendly process. The only thing is that we have to focus and concentrate that there should be no leakage in the environment from the nuclear plant. The disadvantage is that the nuclear reactors are very highly expensive. They are highly expensive, and the availability of the nuclear fuel is limited, and it is controlled by some of the countries. And that is why many times when India entered into the nuclear energy system, then we were having some sort of understanding with Russia and some sort of understanding with other countries. And unfortunately, what happened, that the understanding, due to the change of the government, or due to the change of the government in India or elsewhere, or in these different countries, we had one or the other problem. During the tenure of Dr. Manmohan Singh as Prime Minister, we had signed a pact with for the nuclear energy with US, and unfortunately, it is also not working very well. And so the only thing is that if we focus on this, we maintain the safety rules, we manage these things, then this can produce a very high amount of energy, and it can be used for various purposes. And another disadvantage is that the nuclear waste, where to dispose of. The disposal of the nuclear waste is one of the most important problems. Nuclear fission is the method that uranium-235, it is being used, solo neutron fission products, and the fast neutrons, when they produce the energy. This is the nuclear fission chain reaction, that is the uranium-235. This you will find that when this breaks fission, then you will find that the large amount of the units are released, and with the release of each unit, the energy is released, and this energy can be used or converted for the electrical energy. Nuclear fusion is another one process, proton neutron, and this process can also be used for the production of the nuclear energy. Nuclear fusion, deuterium, helium, tritium, neutron, and the energy is produced, and then this energy can also be converted into the electrical energy. Now I come to the green energy and environmental sustainability. These parts, the wind energy, hydropower energy, or nuclear energy, they are also environment friendly, and they do not have any load on the environment, and they do not cause any pollution in the environment. But now we will have to find out the system that how we can use this green energy or the lignocarbohydrates or lignocellulosic material or lignocellulosic waste or the photosynthetic products, we can say, that how we can use these for the purpose of the production of the biofuel or biodiesel or the bioenergy or or green energy, whatever you want to call to name. The carbon sequestration is one of the things that you will find that the soil and this carbon capture, and this carbon is being produced, and this carbon to some extent, when this carbon is high, then the rate of photosynthesis will be high, but the carbon monoxide is very dangerous for the environment. Natural greenhouse effect, you will find that the sun, solar radiations, and this you will find on the globe, and the less and the more hot escape into the environment, and this is the global. You can just understand that this is one of the closed vessel, and in this closed vessel, when we are growing all these plants inside plants, then the carbon dioxide will be released, and the heat will be produced, and it will remain inside. Greenhouse effect, that is why we call it as the greenhouse. The entire globe is the greenhouse, and when this entire globe is the greenhouse, then we are having these plants, and these plants, they release the energy also, and the carbon dioxide also, and when this is not consumed, then that is why the greenhouse effect it causes. Carbon cycle, many of you are already knowing that the carbon is fixed. That is the only process is the photosynthesis, and due to the fixation of this carbon, the all type of the food materials, whatever we have, whatever the carbohydrates, fats, lipids or proteins or anything, the first component, it is the carbohydrate, and then through the various metabolisms, the various other products are formed. Nitrogen cycle is also an important part of the total biosphere. For carbon fixation and sequestration, green energy is one of the alternatives. And for reduction of the harmful greenhouse effect, also the green energy is the alternative and the solution. So the biomass energy, it is one thing that this biomass, mainly it contains the carbohydrates or lignocarbohydrates, we can say. It is having the cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, most of the materials which are being produced. So this biomass from the wood, animal dung, vegetable waste, agriculture waste, sea waste, or from any of the things, this entire biomass, it is decomposed through the process of the anaerobic microorganisms. And these anaerobic microorganisms, when they do the fermentation, anaerobic fermentation, you can say it, then they produce the biogas. And this biogas can be used as a source of energy. The biogas, it is a mixture of methane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and hydrogen sulfide. And the methane is the part which is being utilized or which is used for the production of the energy. Biogas plants, they are being built and they are being used in the various villages, in the various places. And you will find that one of the city in India, Patna, is a place where the entire city city garbage is being used for the production of the electricity. And Exeter was the first city in UK which used this biogas or this biomass energy for the production of the electrical energy, and the entire electricity light of the city or all this, it is being used even today. So the biogas plant has a large underground tank. I will show you that how they are made up of bricks or cement, and the lower part is the digester, and the upper part has a dome type structure with a gas outlet. And Radhika has gone, but I have seen that Radhika, have you gone? She is from Indonesia over here, and I have seen that she is producing this biomass at home. She has developed a process that that the kitchen, she is running one of the very good organization, one good organization in Indonesia, in Bali. And what she is doing, that she is collecting the all ligno kitchen waste and putting into a bottle, and on the bottle she is putting a balloon and the some water and the some molasses, and then it ferments in 3 to 5 days, and the gas is produced, and this gas can be used. So the I don't think that why she has left. She was just before few minutes she was here. Animal dung can also be mixed and with the water mixing tank, and it can be used as a digester, and it can produce. So this is the outline diagram of a biogas plant. This is the waste material what we use, and this waste material, it is the microbes, anaerobic microbes, Methanococcus bacteria, or some other bacteria. They use methanococci, methanobacteria. They produce the biogas, and this biogas can be used. And the remain part, it can be used as a biofertilizer. So this is the one type, and this is that how this biogas is being constructed. That this is the thing, and this is the final shape of a biogas plant. You will find that in a village, the entire greenery and all this, the things can be used for the production of the biogas. And this biogas plant, it can be used for the disposal of the city garbage also. Now we come on that what are the traditional sources of the biofuel or the bioenergy or the green energy. You will find the sugarcane is the one which is generally used. It produces sugar, and the sugar can be converted into the alcohol, and the alcohol can be used for the production of the energy. This is the one very very simple method. And another is jatropha seeds. The jatropha seeds, they can be used for the production of the oil, and from this the biodiesel can be produced. The rapeseed, palm oil, sorghum, soya, jatropha plant. This is jatropha plant. They can also be used for the as a traditional source of the biofuel. The major biofuel energy, if we want to produce, then we need the land. If we want to use for the production of this, and that is why the land is less. That is why the new concept is coming. That is for the algae. If we use the algae as a source or a source for the production of the biofuel, then it can solve our most of the problems. and that is why we are using the algae, which can fix the carbon dioxide and carbon sequestration, and they, even in the polluted water they can grow. That is one very important thing, that they can grow even in the polluted water and they can be used. So algal biofuel is recently a conference was held in NAS complex in New Delhi for the algal biofuel summit, and their consortium was developed that the farmers should be trained for the production of the algal biofuel for the bioenergy purpose. So this is I'm coming to the sunlight. It is the green algae, and it converts into the starch, oils, and cellulose. And this oil can be used for the production of the biofuel or the biodiesel. Major benefits using the algae, algal habitat and their life cycle. They are simple, everybody knows, and they can be their multiplication is very fast, and they are easy to handle. They can be they can utilize algal feedstock, marine, freshwater, and the several heavy habitats for sustainable agriculture. Algae as biofertilizers, they can be used, and they are the good reclaimers of the soil. If the lands are barren, then these barren lands can also be converted. Professor M.G. Tiwari from Devgar, he is the sectional president of the environmental science section of Indian Science Congress, and he is working on this algae, and he has been able to produce some of the good system for the reclamation of the barren lands. And Professor Devashish Banerjee, he is also using in Devas the practically, and he has been, and Professor S.K. Bhatnagar from Meerut, he has also been working on this algae for the production of the biofuels. So the several they can be used in the medicine production, food supplementation, cosmetics, and biotechnological products, even the protein, single cell protein, and the pigments, and therefore they can also reduce the global warming, they can reduce the pollution, and they can help in the cattle production also. So the algal benefits or the algae production should be encouraged by the developing countries, and it will be able to solve many of the problems of the energy. These are the some photographs that this algae, the entire pond, you see that this the green algae, and this is the red algae on the both the sides. This slide has been supplied to me by Professor M.G. Tiwari, who is working on this system. And this is again the Mirror Lake. Here also the algal flora, diatoms, cyanophyceae, and many of the algae which can be used. The freshwater wetlands, here you will find that this energy can be, biomass can be used for the conversion of the green energy. This is and again you see that this is the Professor M.G. Tiwari. He is working, he is at present more than 75-year-old, and but still he is working very hard and educating the people and in his area, and this algae, it can be harvested and used. Algal habitats, you will find these different estuarine ponds, shallow ponds, and the ponds with algal blooms. So they can be easily cultured, easily grown in various areas, and they can be used for the production of the energy. This is the photograph which we took for the oscillatoria, and you will find that the filamentous autographic cyanobacteria, this we collected in the nearby area, and we are teaching to the students in Soviet University, and we are also culturing this oscillatoria. Yes, Radhika, now you have come. I was talking, Radhika. Radhika, are you hearing me? Radhika from Indonesia, from Bali. Radhika? Okay, so Radhika is doing a wonderful job. As I told you that she is using the kitchen waste for the production of the biofertilizer and for the production of the gas, both, which I showed you that in the bottles itself at the home, she's preparing the bottles, and in the bottles she's putting the balloon, and she's nicely and beautifully, she showed me the, and she sent me the one of the video also for the production of this this green energy, and I don't think that I have time to show it, but maybe that we will share with you people. So this is the beautiful picture of the Dunadelia salina, and extremely salt tolerant. That is, you can grow the algae even in the salt conditions, alkaline conditions. So the in various conditions you can grow, and these are the oil droplets. You are seeing the fine oil droplets. This is containing the nice, the large amount of the biofuel, and it can be utilized and converted. So this is the another chlorophytes members of the algae, and they can also be used for the production of the bioenergy or the green energy, you can say it, or the biodiesel or biofuel. And these are spirulina, chlorella, Dunaldiella, Hematococcus, Schizochytrium, and these can be cultured very easily. They can be cultured very easily, and they can be used for the production of the large amount of the biofuel. That is the one of the things, these microalgae, and they can be cultivated in ponds, they can be cultivated in the fields, they can be cultivated in polluted water, they can be cultivated even in the laboratories, they can be cultivated on industrial scale, and they can and the cultivation is easy, and it is economical also. Another all other species, various algal forms. This is in the laboratory. You are seeing that this in the flask, this culture we are doing this culture in the flask in the laboratory, and these algae can be used for the production of the biofuel. This is the diatoms, beautiful diatoms. Oil-rich algae, you will see that these oil droplets, these oil droplets. Clearly, you will find when you see under the microscope. So you will find the beautiful and the large amount of the filaments you can harvest this here, this culture, very easily cultured. So the youngsters, I would like to invite your attention to focus on the bioenergy, and to focus on the green energy and biofuel and biodiesel production, and this marine algae form that is in the sea. You know that the sea water, it is 80% of the total biosphere on the earth, and you will find a large amount of the marine algae there. And the large amount of the marine algae, they can be harvested, they can be used, and they can be converted for the biofuel or the bioenergy. And the deep-seated sea algae, this is the, also the marine algae. Marine algae, this is also the marine algae. Again, you will find the marine algae. So the even in the sea water, you can culture and you can collect from the sea water this algae and can produce this. This is the autotrophic microalgae, Chara, Nightella. These are fresh waters, and they can be also cultured and grown in the fresh water, and a good assimilator of the carbon dioxide from nature. They can reduce the carbon dioxide from the nature, and they are powerful oxygen producers, powerful, very high amount of the oxygen producers. So therefore, the oxygen level in the environment will be good, carbon dioxide will be reduced, and additionally you will get the biofuel. So the environmental sustainability, environment will be sustained if you are growing the green energy. If you are concentrating on the green energy, then the environment can be sustained. Environment will become sustainable, because it will consume carbon dioxide and release oxygen, and will also reduce the pollutants. This is the another algal cells have the more surface area, and that is why I am talking that the more carbon dioxide they can absorb, and they can release the more oxygen at the same time. Again, this is the another algae, Arcella edogonium, and so the various algae, cyanobacteria, green algae, and they are the future of the energy. You will find the oil extraction process. It is very simple. You can green energy. You can extract the oils, and protein residue will be the another thing. Biodiesel can be produced. They can be used for the technology, and this is the carbon dioxide. This is the one cycle which is showing that how this can happen. The green technology, this is the just diagram which I am showing, that the oxygen is evolved and this carbon dioxide which is being consumed in these water fields. The algal based biodiesel or bioethanol, you can say it, product is expected to be very competitive in the price as far as it is concerned, and it is the biofuel from the algae will be accompanied by the production of the high economic value products, for example, omega-3 fatty acids, polyglucan and carotenoids, which are very important for the as a food and as a prebiotic also. So the in the lab also you can culture. This is the oil extraction process and how the oil is extracted in the lab. It is showing. These are the various species, algal species, which are commercially exploited for the production of the green energy. Algal strains in the desert and environmental sustainability. These four algae, Hematococcus, Microcoleus, and Chlamydomonas, and the Synechocystis. These four algae, they can be used in the deserts also in the for the production of the good green energy. Cultivation of the algae in the sewage water. In the sewage water also you can cultivate these algae and you can obtain. So these are the components. Protein, mostly they will contain 50 to 60% in some of the algae. Most of the things you will find that almost 50 to 60% of the proteins, they have carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acids. So lipids, this is the one thing. Here now this can be used, this can be used, this can be used, this can be used, this can be used. So which are shown by the red mark, they can be used for the production of the biofuel. First generation of the biofuel, this is the vegetable oil, trans esterification, and the green green energy in that is, and this is can be used for this purpose. The second generation of the biofuels, this is the biomass collection, lipid extraction, and conservation of the green energy can be used. And this suspended carbon can be reduced using the algae biofuel as green energy for sustainability of the environment. If you use this green energy, algae, for biodiesel, and then the environment can be sustainable. Algal biomass, useful as poultry feeds, a high-grade protein source as animal food, potentially organic fertilizer also, because now you see that there is a much more emphasis on the organic farming. So when you are doing the organic farming, so you can use this as a organic fertilizer also, has biocontrol properties, phytotoxin this has, and it can be used, and it is suitable for the fishery units as protein, because you know that the algae, they are in the water and the fish also live. So fish love to eat proteins from the algae. So the oil you can extract, proteins you can extract, and the protein you can use as a food for the fish. So the fish will also be used as a, so this is a complete process. A complete unit can be established where you can make several. So this is a very good industry which with the algal industry or algal culture or algal fermentation, you can say it, and it will be able to give a large amount of the products, byproducts, and it will be commercially viable. So God bless all biodiversity on this planet, the children, and I as a sectional president of the environmental science of the Indian Science Congress, I would like to emphasize that we have to balance, maintain a balance between nature, health, and economy, because for the development of the economy or for the large economy, we are destroying the nature, we are disturbing the nature, and then we are disturbing the health also. So whenever we are making any process, whenever we are developing any industry, then we should think about the balance between nature, health, and economy, because all three if they are going together, then it will be environmentally sustainable. And if anything is imbalanced, for example, now you are seeing that we have disturbed the biodiversity, and due to the disturb or the loss of the biodiversity, we are seeing the viral diseases like COVID, which have jumped from animals to human. So please, please, please maintain the balance in the biodiversity, and respect the nature, respect the biodiversity, and respect the environment. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to interact with a large number of participants from India and abroad. I am seeing that several persons to whom I know that they are from the different countries who have joined on this platform. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Amar.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Amar. So now we will present you a certificate that will be shared shortly. And we would like to start asking some questions, a brief
Yes.
Q&A session, please. We have around 10 or 15 minutes. So if any delegate would like to make a question, could you please raise your hand or...
Yes, please. Welcome. Yes, any question or queries?
Yes, Amori, go ahead.
Hello, sir. I'm Amari from Mexico, and I just want to know if this energy, the biomass, how we can implement it in our houses.
Oh, in health system.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Actually, if we are concentrating, I have focused on the green energy, and if we are focusing on the green energy and we are propagating it, then naturally we will protect the environment. Environment will be sustainable. And when environment will be sustainable, healthy air, healthy soil, healthy water, then it will give you a very good health. I say that if you spend $1 on the conservation of the environment, on the nature, it will return you back you $9, 9 times. So if you see the disease, you will find that the majority of the disease, they are because of the polluted air, polluted water, and polluted soil. So just we concentrate on the rights of nature, and the rights of nature are, and if we focus on the green energy, then this green energy will provide us a good health, a good nature environment, and a good healthy soil, good healthy water, and a healthy air. So, and besides that, the several algae, they are being used in the medicines, for the production of the medicines also. Some of the algae, they produce the antibiotics. They can, and these are the antibiotics, not like that, which will be very harmful to the health. I will say not antibiotics, I will say antimicrobial components. And these antimicrobial components are the herbal type, you can say, and they are not chemically synthesized, or they are the biomolecules. So they are known to your body, and they will not cause any side effects. For example, chlorine and several other components they can be. And even from the green energy, when you see the aloe vera, when you see the herbal plants, all these herbal plants, they are also being used. They are also being used. They are also being used for the production of the various medicines. So the herbal Ayurvedic, now this is the system, or the herbal, you can say, that the green energy is one of the very important aspects. Yes. I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much, sir.
Yes, welcome. Yes, Anupma, any question?
Yeah.
No?
No, sir. Yes, sir. I have a question that you have mentioned about the green energy algae, and
Yes.
after the extraction of the oil,
Yes.
being used already in use or implementation of that oil.
No. This oil can be used as a biofuel, biodiesel, and there are several processes. They are already known. The only thing is that the extraction is slightly not attracted. It has not attracted the industry. But now the price of the oil, as it is going up, particularly in India, if keep on increasing, then slowly the people will start establishing this industry, and the biofuel, it will be the one of the alternate source of the energy, and in the coming 10 years. I predict, and it can be extracted easily. It is not a harmful, it is not a cumbersome process. And the culture of the algae, it is very simple. It is very easy. Anywhere, everywhere, anytime, anyone, even you can culture. That is the beauty of this algae for culture. Yes.
So
Yes.
this is
Yes.
implemented. I mean, it
Yes.
is under
Yes.
process.
Yes. This process is commercialized, and some of the people, they are using, in some of the country, they are also using this production of the biofuel, biodiesel. And unfortunately in India, the people are not focusing on it. But maybe that after this COVID-19, because of the new projects are coming, and new processes are coming, and the people will concentrate and focus. And as the people will establish this type of the industry, then the fuel will be quite cheap. The government of India, if they say that the biofuel will not have any excise duty, no excise duty, then the industry will be attracted, and the cost of this biofuel will be cheaper than your diesel. Diesel or the petroleum, you are getting now about 80 rupees a kg, 80 rupees a liter. And if you focus on this biodiesel and the algal biofuel, or and you say that the government say that we will not charge any custom duty or any any excise duty for the sale of this, then the industry will come forward, and they will be able to market it. The only thing is that still there is a drawback, that the cost is slightly higher for the production cost. The production cost comes about 50 to 60 rupees a liter. That is the one thing. But this is not bad. The government has to encourage. Government has to think. Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, we know of oil spills which occur due to oil drillings in the ocean. It
Yes.
creates a great risk to the marine ecosystem. So,
Yes.
do you think there are any sustainable ways to prevent such accidents?
You have asked a very important and very nice question, because most of you might be knowing that Professor Anand Mohan Chakravarti, who is the man of the great microbiologist, and he is expired only on 10th of July this year, and he was a good friend of mine, and he was the first to produce the Pseudomonas putida, the bacteria which was genetically engineered. And this Pseudomonas putida, it is the oil eater bacteria, superbug you might have heard. So this is able to eat the oil, and this is able to clean the marine spill over the surface. And it was long back in 1970, 76, 77, 78, and he got a patent. And you know that very important thing is associated with him. I'm sorry that he was a good friend of mine, and he died just 10 days before, on 10th of July. And I have read his, I have written a obituary on my Facebook also, you will find. And there is a one beautiful lecture, his lecture on YouTube also, for the superbug. And he fought a case with the Diamond versus Anand Mohan Chakravarti, and he won the case in Supreme Court of India, Supreme Court of US. And the court at that time hold that if the living microorganisms, they are genetically produced or they are genetically manufactured or artificially manufactured, then they can be patented. Otherwise also, you know that the living organisms cannot be patented. But if they have been genetically altered, if they have been genetically modified, they can be patented. So the Pseudomonas putida, it was the first. Now there are 3-4 more bacteria which have been later on much more efficient bacteria, rather I will say, which have been manufactured, and they are now already in the market. They are having the patent. And not only this, there are the several fungi also, aquatic fungi also, and the algae also. There are some algae which grow in the polluted oil spills, microcystis, and some of the more another cyanobacteria. They can grow naturally, and they can eat up these oil spills, and they can utilize. So I hope that I have answered your question.
Yes.
And
Yes, sir.
I'm
Thank
thankful
you.
to you that you reminded me my old friend Professor Anand Mohan Chakravarti, who is the Padam Shri also he was given, and he was a great scientist. So it is my lecture is dedicated to him. This lecture now I dedicate to him or to his memory, who died just 10th of July this year. A beautiful, wonderful scientist.
All
Thank
right,
I
you,
thank
have
sir.
you.
another question.
Because of terms of time, we have to give the last question to Fernanda. So please, Fernanda.
Yes.
Thank you. The thing is, we have an interview with Dr. Amar. So before the interview, my only question would be, is it possible to have a system in which you have these microbes being part of a decomposing stage of human household waste? So
Yes.
instead of saying it to
Yes,
like
yes, yes.
landfills, can
For the sewage disposal, the entire sewage disposal is under the control of the microbes. The methanogenic bacteria or the anaerobic bacteria, they ferment the sewage and they produce the biogas, and they produce the remaining part is remains as a biofertilizer, which can be utilized as a fertilizer in the crops. So this sewage disposal is under the control of the microbial process. I used to classify the microbes as the god. Microbes, they provide you food, they provide you shelter, they provide you everything, and the entire recycling of the matter, everything. Even you might have read and you might have heard that Pasteur long back said that even the death is incomplete without microbes. There is the two deaths. The one is the physical death, other is the biological death. So the biological death will be complete only when the complete body is mineralized and it is converted into the constituents from which it is formed. So, and this mineralization or recycling or breakage of the all components on this earth, it is purely under the control of the microbes. Bacteria, fungi, actinomycetes, protozoans, and everything. So this beautiful earth, it has been also created only because of the microbes. If you will see that there are some microbes, marine microbes, which is surviving since last 10 billion years. The single genome is surviving since last 10 billion years. It is a micro animal and it is surviving in the ocean. So the 10 billion years ago, this microbe was formed, and it is called as the immortal microbe. Until now, the scientists were of the view that there are only some fishes which are the immortal, but no, now this is a small mammal, small animal, and it is the 8-legged animal. And I have shared this picture and this details on my Facebook also, Amargar Gamargar. You can see the details on that. And if you see the origin of the life, then also you will find that either the proteins or the nucleic acids, they formed fast. But now the evidence this suggests that the polypeptides, they were created first. And After that, the nucleic acid, and then the microbes were created. So these methanogenic bacteria or archaeobacteria, which were produced billions of years ago, they were having the capacity, and still they are having the capacity for the anaerobic fermentation and for the digestion of the sewage and digestion or degradation of these complex compounds, and for the and they produce the methane gas, which is used as a biogas, and the remnants are left and they can be used as a biofertilizer. So this is a very important and very nice question, that the microbes are very important in our life. Even these viruses which you think that they are dangerous, no. Even the viruses are very important, and no microbe or no species in this earth or the biosphere is useless. If any of the thing or any of the microbe or any animal or any plant is destructive, then it will be destroyed. The best example is the dinosaur. Dinosaurs were the destructive, so they were destroyed by the nature. So don't think that the COVID-19 or the coronavirus is destructive. Think its positive aspect, that it forced us to remain inside the house. The air is purified, water is purified. We have learned new lessons. We have learned new system of working. We have learned new system of the social gathering. We have learned now new system of interaction on this Zoom, only because of the COVID-19. Otherwise, there would have been a large session and all this. So the interaction at the international platform. So the everything is having some positive aspect.
Thank you very
And
much.
this virus, I would like to say here, this coronavirus, it is not a killer virus. My dear friends, I would like to emphasize it. This is not a killer virus. Our psychological impact, our psychological thing that we are infected by the coronavirus, it is making the more and more panic. So the deaths are because of the panic, deaths are because of the mismanagement, not because of the virus.
Thank you very much. We will now proceed to give you a certificate in recognition of UNESCO Center for Peace, which Sebastian is presenting. And after this, we would like to have a short interview with you and Sebastian to follow up on some questions. And if anyone wants to reach out to Dr. Amar, I hope that he can share an email or a contact, a way in which we can.
Yes, most welcome. Anyone who has the questions, they can send on my mail and I will answer. It will be my pleasure.
So this is the certificate that we're presenting.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure and honor. Thank you. Thanks to the organizers.
Thank you, sir.
It was nice interaction with the intelligent people, intelligent questions.
Okay, so I will leave the meeting and thank everyone for being here. I will send you the link so that you can join through the interview session, Dr. Amar and Sebastian.
Right now?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Yes, please.